I'm gonna make sure my computer is muted.
She was telling me whenever I was signing the paperwork that
Yeah.
she was going to leave it up to you, whatever. She said they don't do nothing in
She
this kind of case.
Well, that's fine. That's If that's the case, that's what they'll do. But they can't leave it up to me. I have no jurisdiction to do anything with a parole hold or a parole violation or anything like that.
Right, right. Okay.
So I don't know what if she said they're leaving something up to me. They probably meant your DOC hearing officer. I don't know. But like I said, I don't have any. Uh, Not only don't I have any authority to do anything, um, I just don't have any way to do anything on a parole
Right.
hold. That is completely an administrative act through the Department of Corrections. It's not judicial, so I
Right.
don't have any influence in it one way or another.
Well, I wrote her a letter. She never got a hold of me, but I wrote my lawyer too, and he said he was going to try to contact him. I don't know if he got a hold of anybody or not.
Al, is that you that he's talking about? Al,
Yes, in my review of this matter, I found out that I thought uh, there was no jurisdiction to the other matters via this charge, and therefore I was unable to do anything. I contacted the assistant district attorney, and they came up, I believe, with the same conclusion, and that's why I raised the issue this morning before the sentencing, so we could see if it could be resolved in some manner.
well, it's technically, I mean, you're correct in that it doesn't have it. This case doesn't have any jurisdiction in this. This is his old case.
Yes.
And it's not a probation violation because certainly if it was that, then this court would retain jurisdiction. We could do something with it. But as a parole hold, in fact, they don't even do parole anymore. They call it post release. I think this was pre new law, so he is actually on parole, not post release. If
I,
that's
I
the
had
case,
I had post release. It was like
okay.
36 months.
Well, I think with the underlying charge, I think it was probably a lifetime post release.
No, it said 36, I believe.
Well, and when did you get out?
2016.
See, I don't know. That would have expired before this case came up. All right. But anyway, the long and the short of it is I can't do anything about it
Right.
one way or another. So that's with DOC. My hope would be that they see what this is, that you are granted probation, and that they agree to put you back on your post release and let you finish it up or cancel it or whatever. But
Right.
I don't have the authority to tell them to do that. All right, let's be on the record. Case number 2020CR257, captioned State of Kansas versus James Hansen. Would the parties announce their appearances, please?
Your Honor, Zahil Mari, Assistant District Attorney, appears on behalf of the state.
Please, the court, the defendant appears in person of my counsel, Albert E. Grauberger.
All right, we are here for a sentencing today. The record should reflect that we were last in court by Zoom on October 23rd, at which time the defendant changed his plea from one of not guilty to guilty. The court inquired and accepted that plea, found him guilty, ordered a pre-sentence investigation, and set it for sentencing today. I've received that pre-sentence report. The critical findings are as follows. The sole count of conviction is one of violation of the Offender Registration Act, which is a severity level 6 person felony. The defendant's criminal history score is that of I, as in Isaac. And it should be noted, the reason for that is that the underlying felony that requires the registration can't be scored in these kind of cases, and that is the defendant's sole felony. So he's a criminal history I for purposes of today's hearing. That would leave him with a presumption of prison and a presumed underlying range of 17, 18, or 19 months. If he had to do that time, he'd be eligible for 15% good time credit and subject to 24 months of post-release supervision. This crime includes the special rule number 9, which is a crime committed while on parole, and number 46, that being the Offender Registration Act violation. If he's granted probation today, it would be for a period of 24 months to community corrections. I would ask you first, Mr. Omari, did you have a chance to review the pre-sentence investigation, any additions, corrections, or challenges?
I did have a chance, Your Honor. I reviewed it. I don't have any additions or corrections or challenges.
Same question, Mr. Grauberger.
Yes, Your Honor, we reviewed it and I have no reason for correction.
All right. Well, I will adopt the findings for purposes of today's hearing, given no challenges to those findings. Mr. Grauberger, you filed a motion for a downward duration or dispositional departure. Would you like to be heard on that this morning?
Yes, Your Honor. I would point out to the court that the agreement entered into between the district attorney, myself, and my client agreed that it was proper to file a motion for a downward dispositional departure, that they had no objection to that, and that the defendant, in fact, would be granted probation if the court concurred with that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Omari, any comment on Mr. Grauberger's motion or anything else touching upon sentencing?
Your Honor, the state has no objection to the motion. Just ask that you follow the plea negotiations.
Mr. Hansen, now is your opportunity to tell me anything you want me to know in mitigation of your sentence today.
No, I ain't got nothing to say, sir.
All right. Well, I am going to grant the motion for a downward dispositional departure. I will adopt as the substantial and compelling reasons those set out in the defendant's motion in the comments today. Specifically, I just want to say I don't believe that Mr. Hansen committed this violation with the intent to subvert the system or be unnoticed. I think this was a crime of omission. So I do find that there are substantial and compelling reasons to grant a downward dispositional departure. Therefore, I will sentence Mr. Hansen to the standard range of 18 months. If he has to do that time, he'll be eligible for 15% good time credit and subject to post-release supervision of 24 months. His application for probation today is considered and it is granted to community corrections for a period of 24 months. Mr. Hansen, a couple of things that I want to tell you about. My hope is that DOC lets you out here momentarily. I think the worst thing they can do, the worst thing they could do is try and put you back in and make you do more of your sentence. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they may give you 90 days for a violation and give you credit for all the time you've been in there, which would mean they let you out. But I don't want you to take any of this as some sort of direction from the court. I don't have a position, and in fact, we don't see parole cases here, so I can't tell you with any certainty what they're going to do. Okay?
Yes,
Here's a couple of things you need to know, though. This crime does not require registration, but your old one still does. So when you get out this time, I want you to make sure you know how to register, where to register, when to register, and then do it. Okay? I'm convinced from the facts in this case, you weren't trying to hide. You just weren't getting this done, which is a bad way to catch a new felony. And you know, now that you have another felony, if you did it again, your sentence would be higher. The likelihood that you would get probation again.
It ain't going to happen again.
Okay, so make sure you keep up on that. Ms. Heron, do you know, is it a lifetime registration? I would imagine with that crime it is. Oh, we lost her phone, so she's going to text that to me.
I remember them saying something about after so much time I can get an expungement or something like that.
Yeah, well, look, that was the next thing that I was going to tell you in these cases. You have 14 days from today to appeal anything you don't like about your sentence today. You also have the right to seek expungement after a period of time following successful completion of probation. As a convicted felon, it's prohibited for you to own or possess a firearm, certain kind of deadly cutting instruments like dirks, daggers, switchblades, basically knives that could be considered deadly weapons. As I said, this is not a registration case, but your requirement to register remains in your old case, and you need to make sure you keep up with that, okay?
Right, right.
Any questions about any of that?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Mr. Grauberger, you can submit a voucher. My intent here with Mr. Hansen being in, that I'm going to waive his court costs and all of those things. I'm sure he's paying on his old case and not any of those. It's not his first felony conviction here in Kansas, so I don't think he has to pay a database fee. So I'll waive court costs, supervision fee, and attorney's fees so that Mr. Hansen hopefully can get a fresh start.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Omari, any objection to that?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So things that I failed to cover today, Mr. Omari.
Nothing, Judge.
Jail time credit, I guess. You guys can cover
Yeah.
that.
I believe it's 165 days.
All right. Does that sound right, Mr. Grauberger?
I believe that's correct.
All right. He'll be granted that jail time credit.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Grauberger, anything I haven't covered today?
Nothing I know of, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Herron, if I have covered everything, give me a thumbs up, please. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have good holidays.